Next, we'll do a roll call. Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Present.
Riley?
Here.
Pedestris?
Present.
Clodier?
Here.
Mr. Budney is at another meeting this evening, and Mr. Anaz. So we have a quorum, and the first item on the agenda tonight, and I want to welcome all our guests, is a presentation and a public hearing on the Township Road proposal that this commission recommended to the Township Board. So what the format's going to be simply this. We're going to take about 5 to 10 minutes and briefly describe what's proposed. You should all have copies of what was mailed out to everybody, and there are copies at the back of the room, and then we'll open it up to questions. We're going to do a brief summary, and the proposal is, and I think it's on the screen and it's on the TV screens in the room. Election day, November 6th, voters will have the opportunity to vote on a proposal to levy a 2 mil tax for 12 years for the sole purpose of improving certain primary roads and providing for the maintenance on all roads throughout the township. If approved, the township will have $1,180,000 to start improvements during the 2019 construction season. So the 2 mills in our township generates $1,180,000. On page 2 of this handout, there's a little bit of background. We've been looking at roads for years, and road conditions on the island each spring are really bad. But we've developed this plan for not only improving, but maintaining. That's a key, maintaining the township roads. Previous road millages put forth have failed, some say due to a lack of voter turnout and the false belief by many residents that Wayne County, who owns our roads, has the resources to resurface our roads. Township roads continue to deteriorate faster than they can be repaired. The DPS Commission over the last couple of years we discussed roads at every one of our monthly meetings. We've received much community input over this past year. In 2017, we studied the Wayne County report prepared by the Wayne County Road Commission. It's the Public Service Commission, of their 2018 needs list. It's the county's top 100 projects. There is no road on improvement plan for Grosse Ile Township. Now that's a 5-year program, basically. They do about 14 to 17 roads a year. And of course, Wayne County stretches from Grosse Pointe through Plymouth, Northfield, Northland, Northville, Livonia, Brownstown, many communities in between. This is the plan. It's the 2018 needs study. And I've announced several times over the past year that this list of projects the county has proposed has been on file, available for anybody to look at our DPS office. So, with that, this is going to be on the ballot. The brochure that we mailed out to everybody lists the exact language that's on the ballot. We selected 12 years because of the criticism of our Pratt's proposal 3 years ago, which was it was too much money. It was $19 million that we asked for, both for roads and water main. And also, it was for 20 years. It was too long. So we looked at those issues, accepted those comments. We cut this down to 2 mills for 12 years. So with that, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Kennedy, and he's going to outline exactly what's going to be done and in what year. Phil?
Good evening. The initial tax proposal, as Chairman Kostick said, will generate $1.18 million a year. And if we do that for 12 years and just spent the money as it came in, we really wouldn't get ahead of the condition of the roads on the island. So the proposal that we have in front of you is to front load the expenditure of the money and supplement it with a bond issue in the third year that would give us more money to tackle the large projects that are ahead of us. And then as we start paying the bonds off, the remainder of the money would be used to keep the roads maintained and supplement it and move forward. So the proposal that you have in front of you shows in 2019 that we're planning to resurface and widen Church Road by 2 feet between East River and Canal, and then resurface the remaining of Church Road from the canal to Meridian. And if any of you live in that area, you'll know that that's a road that's in dire need of widening and resurfacing. There's a lot of traffic on that road, a lot of children, and that's became very high on our needs list. And then we also are going to re-chip seal several of the roads that we chip sealed several years ago. Now, that was done initially as an experiment, and it was kind of met with mixed reviews. The chip sealing on Horse Mill didn't go very well. The chip sealing on South Point, though, and on Grow Road and East River seems to have held up quite well. The ratio of chip sealing cost to resurfacing is about 10 to 1. So you can chip seal a mile of road for about 10% the cost of totally resurfacing. The downside of it is you have to do it more often. More than likely, you'll be chip sealing every 6 to 8 years at the least, maybe even more frequent. But there's still quite a cost savings with chip sealing if it's kept up. So 2019, that's what we put on the proposal. 2020, we found we originally had some other roads scheduled to be done, but we've noticed East River has just been deteriorating just about as fast as anything can be done to it. We got a little bit of a windfall from Wayne County. They just resurfaced a few areas on East River, but we moved East River Road further up the list from where it was. We had it a year further down, but we feel that if we don't take care of East River Road soon, it's going to really deteriorate to the point that it's going to be unsafe. It already is unsafe in several areas. And then also, you'll notice that we have on 2020 to do West River Road north of Church Road. And I don't know if any of you have been down West River Road recently. We just did the water main project there and are totally resurfacing West River Road. We're not able to widen it, but we are totally resurfacing it. And I think if you've been down there, you'll see that that's come out quite well. Well, the north end of it wasn't included in that project, but it's just as bad as the south end was, if not worse in many areas. So that's been moved up to 2020 to finish resurfacing West River Road. 2021, we do Meridian Road and also Bellevue Road. Then in 2022, we resurface Ferry Road between East River and the canal and undertake other chip sealing and repairs of roads that are needed. And what ends up happening is, as we get into 2023 and beyond, we don't have as much money because we're paying $800 and some thousand a year to repay our bonds, and that leaves us roughly 300 and how much is it? 300 and some odd thousand a year, 365,000 a year to utilize for continuing repair and maintenance of the roads, because no roads here are going to stay static. I mean, as my experience has been, is with the longer we wait, the worse the road is and the more it's going to cost us to repair it. So we're trying to front load our efforts here to take care of the worst roads and then maintain the other ones. Now, one thing that needs to be said is, at no time are we going to let Wayne County off the hook. Every project that we enter into, we are also going to be requesting that Wayne County participate in. We're going to put as much pressure on them as we can. We're not on the list, but every now and then we find that they do have a few extra dollars here and there, and we can weigh on them to spend some of it our way. So that's the plan. That's not totally in detail, but it gives you an idea of how we plan to start with this project.
Thank you. If you look at the last page of the handout, Brenda's going to talk to that last page. Brenda?
Yeah, we just want to let you know what some of the other neighboring communities have done. In 2013, voters in Riverview approved 2.73 mills for 10 years. In 2014, voters in Melvindale approved 7.07 mills for 5 years. In 2015, the voters of Allen Park approved 1.9 mills for 10 years. Also in 2015, Farmington Hills approved 1.5 mills for 10 years. Livonia approved a mill for 20 years, and Southfield approved a $99 million bond issue for roads. Then in 2018, Canton approved 1.45 mills for 20 years. So we just want to let you, yep. Those would be, they may be both.
In the case of cities, they're mostly city roads, but some are county roads. But in the case of townships, they're all county roads because the counties own all the roads in townships. So.
Correct.
I'm aware that.
Right.
I guess you should come up to the podium and ask. We can open it up. Why don't you come up and when people come up to the podium, what I'd like you to do is just give your name and your street, not your address, so we get an idea where you're living and so forth. And ask your question again. It was a good question.
Mike Mihal, 1905 Fort Park Lane, where the bridge is closed. So, what can I say? But anyways, you mentioned city roads and county roads. And there's a distinguish between county and city roads. When you're saying Canton and places like that, or Canton might be a township, but Livonia is a city. So they're already, in Allen Park, I grew up in Allen Park. So Allen Park, they're paying for their own city roads, which they own anyways. But in this particular case, we're talking about county roads. So to distinguish them all together like that is kind of like, it doesn't really give a good record of what we're saying, in my opinion. Okay.
I can answer your question.
Okay.
I'm familiar with people in Farmington Hills and also Livonia and in Southfield. If you look at Oakland County, they got the same problem.
Right.
Many of their roads, and I'm going to use 7 miles as an example because I'm familiar with it.
That's fine.
In Livonia, that's a county road. Now the county saves when a city becomes a city. The counties, over the years, save general roads that are through roads where they go from one community to another.
Right.
Hills is 12 miles, a good example. Or Orchard Lake Road.
Right.
It's 7 mile and 8 mile are county roads. Wayne County and Oakland County roads.
Okay.
And I know that Southfield officials and Farmington Hills officials are so frustrated not being on the list when the county roads need to be improved that when they raise these monies, frequently, because they're the heavier carriers of traffic, they'll spend the money on county roads.
Okay, let me ask, can I have a couple more questions here?
Sure.
Okay, now you said there was a
Speaker.
What's that?
Speak into the
Okay.
I can hear you fine, but can everybody hear him now?
If you speak into the microphone, it gets recorded for the people watching at home.
How's that? Is that better? Okay. The other question I have is you said we're going to have a 2% mill. What percent mill are we paying the county right now?
2 mills. Just 2. No. It's not 2%. It's 2 mills.
Oh, 2 mills.
Yeah. We're not. Well, we spend a lot of money. We pay. All of us pay a lot of money to the county, but none of it goes for roads.
Why have a road tax on there? Am I right?
The only money that I'm aware of that the county gets, and this is true for most of the road commissions in the state, whether you're up in Leelanau County or Mackinac County, is money that comes from the gas tax and vehicle registration fees.
Okay. Do we know what percentage everybody gets from the county? In other words, are some areas getting more money than other areas? Have we done any studies on that?
You mean Wayne County versus Mackinac County?
No, Wayne County versus other cities in Wayne County. Like, does Detroit get more money, or does Taylor get more money, or Ecorse?
The state formula is driven by a 1951 act.
Okay.
That distributes money to MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation.
Right.
the road commissions in the county, and then all the cities and villages. So I happen to know the formula that 39% MDOT gets. 39% is distributed through all the 80 counties in Michigan.
Okay.
And 22% goes to all the cities and villages. Now, the formula, if you ask me to explain it, I can't.
That's fine, yeah.
Because it's based on lane miles and population.
Okay, and then let me ask you this. With the bridge being here, that's a big issue, too. Is there anybody looking at Homeland Security money for anything like that? I mean, let's face it, we're bridge locked. So
I understand that the township board, the supervisor and manager are looking at that,
the federal government.
looking to federal
Okay.
government.
And then last but not
But
least.
I understand.
Okay.
Whether they'll be successful, we can only hope.
Okay. So our state reps are on top of that, hopefully? And you're in touch with our state reps on that?
Well, Mr. Loftus is here and he says yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And then last question I have. This is like an insider question, I guess. My wife used to work for Ed McNamara. Okay. And when he got on as the township or the county executive, that was because the same thing that's going on now was going on back then. And what they did is because there was no money being dispersed, or there was less money being dispersed for certain things. So what happened was the county, they came out and they wanted to create Erie County. Some of you guys might remember that. They wanted to create Erie County, and that's when the county got all upset and money just started to flow. So my question is, okay, can we put pressure, or can we stop sending them money that we're not, some money, okay, that we can put in escrow, or can the townships get together and sue the county and say, hey, look, we're not getting what we deserve? I mean, has anybody looked at the formula to see what we're getting and if we're actually getting our money's worth? It doesn't look like it to me, you know.
I think, number one, this commission wouldn't have we're advisory.
Right, okay.
But I would say this, that I don't think any of us think we're getting our fair share back.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on what we all pay in
Exactly.
from Grosse Ile. But since you raised the question about bridges, I'd like to ask, Lorinda, will you put this up? And a lot of people that I talk to, I know I drive around the island all the time.
Right.
And most of the people up here do. And maybe many of you drive around the island.
Right.
But I drew this up to highlight something for the people that might be watching tonight on TV or whatever.
I see my bridge.
But you see the bridge, you know, when I look at the county resources, the county does have in its 2018 needs study $2.8 million allocated towards our free bridge. $2.8 million. I don't know what the cost of the fix is going to be. But right now, we have, if we go from the north end of the island, the Park Lane Bridge is completely closed. I haven't been in the bridge meetings, but it's my understanding they have not told township officials what their plan is, or if there is a plan to fix it. Of course, we know that the West River Road, you go over the main bridge, it's scheduled for some improvements next year, the free bridge, but the overpass over West River Road is closed.
Right.
So that you can't go through it or under
Right.
it on West River Road right now. It's all shored up.
Same with Park
I
Lane.
will tell you that the bridge on Ferry Road over the canal is in need of substantial repairs, and the bridge out to the south end of the island, going to Mesa Island and Hickory Island, is in need of substantial repairs. And that's going to be a costly undertaking because there's...
Let me ask the last question.
I just want to
Okay.
finish my point. My point is, as we look to the future funding of counties for our roads in the township, they're going to be, I would think they're going to be, if they ever face the reality of this, and so far as I know, they haven't, because they've been talking about on Hines Park Drive, they got several bridges that have to be fixed. And no plan has evolved, to my
Right.
knowledge. Here we have 5 bridges on this island that need substantial repairs in the millions of dollars. I don't know where the money's going to come from.
Well, you know what? It just seems that, I mean, did we all wake up one morning, not being, you know, disrespectful to anybody here, but did we all wake up one morning and say, wow, look, bridges are bad, we got to close them? I mean, hasn't this been going on for years? And hasn't the county made you aware how bad these bridges were all these years? What's that?
There's a lot of questions that are at my level. I don't want to place this your meeting.
No, you could, no.
I can answer.
I'll be happy to have you come up. This is our supervisor, Brian Loftus.
Hi, Brian.
And thank you for being here tonight.
This is important. I mean, this is
All right, you want to take my seat?
no, I absolutely do not. I'll have to
No, you're okay. You're doing fine.
Thank you. So starting with, I love these guys are doing the legwork,
Right.
but sometimes it gets up to the political end, and then it's my job. So I've got a lot of new friends at Wayne County. I've got a lot of new friends at MDOT, a lot of new friends at the federal level.
Good to know.
Treasurer Van Oss and I have been meeting with a whole cadre of county people. Regarding the bridges, they just said, if you didn't read it in the news, it was out there. The guy who was hired to inspect bridges for Wayne County for the last 3 years did no inspections. So he got fired. He's probably facing charges. I don't know. That's their issue.
He should be.
Or he should be, but none of the bridges were inspected. So when MDOT became aware of it and leaned on the county, this is the way it was explained to me by MDOT. They hired our new bridge engineer, some inspectors, found the bridges that were all listed as DAPT end, and that's an engineering standard how a bridge is constructed. The DAPT ends of the DAPT end bridges were failing. They didn't have an immediate plan, engineering study on how to repair them. So they closed them because they just didn't know what their structural integrity was. As far as I know, we haven't been apprised of any plan, any engineering plan to replace, repair, or whatever. So those two bridges on Hines Drive remain closed. The West River overpass was a DAPT end. That's closed. Your Park Lane Bridge was a DAPT end bridge, and it's closed until they can find out how and find the dollars to get those fixed. More than you wanted to know?
No, that's fine. I'm glad to hear you're working with the county and the federal government especially, because like I said, that main bridge, to me, that's a homeland security issue, and I don't know how anybody can deny that. You know what I mean? I mean, actually, if I come from Florida a lot, I spend 6 months there. When a bridge is that important, they build a temporary bridge alongside. Okay, especially when, if you have a disaster like Fermi or something or 9/11.
Well, remember, we have a second bridge. So.
Yeah, but
a lot of those places in Florida, islands will have...
Park Lane, you got to, if you live on the other side of the second bridge, you got to go another mile because you can't get across the other bridge. And,
my fire chief is well aware of that, and he's not happy about it.
Right. Well, anyways, I want to thank you, okay, and thank you very much. All right.
Questions? This is come up, Bob.
Bob Burns. I live on West River Road. I live on the unpaved end. I don't think it has been repaved since probably, Les could back me up, but probably the late 60s, early 70s, maybe when they put the sewers in. 1971. There you go. I got a question. I'm kind of looking at I'm kind of watching what they're doing down on the other end of West River with the work that's being done in conjunction with the new water line that's being put in. Over the 6 years or so that we've owned property on West River, a lot has changed. I mean, I can remember as a kid playing in the farm field behind my house in the old Waterman Estate, which is now a large condo development. There's been a lot of new building going on along that section of West River and more to come. A lot of filling and a lot of changes in the way the water flows. And if you've ever been down West River in that area during a large rainstorm, when we get these 1 to 2 inch rains, the water basically runs down the landward side of the road, and it's basically the drainage is swale. It just runs down the road. Sometimes it crests over and it'll run over into the lots into the river, but mostly it runs that way. I guess I'm curious in two counts on the work they're going to do. When you say resurface, because being that water running down this edge of that road over the time, it's basically deteriorated that, and I believe that from what I see with what's peeling up, I don't think there's more than probably 2 inches of asphalt there, because that's about as much. So if you're going to take it down to 1.5 inches or 3 inches, you're going to basically take it down to grade. If the grade underneath is failing, which I believe it is along the road edges, then by resurfacing, all you're doing is creating a situation for it to fail more, particularly if there's water running down and penetrating in and it's constantly wet along there. So I guess the question is, given the bit of engineering that was done on the other end where they put in some curbs, it looks like they've addressed some of that. When you say resurfacing, particularly in that area, will that encompass that type of work as well? It's just not resurfacing, but it's checking the grade, checking the conditions with the stormwater issues, addressing that?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. And on the West River Road project, we made sure that the drainage would work, and there were several crossings that are under the new road. And when we do the road, we do 4 inches is what we're talking about. So we're gonna mill off 4 inches and replace it with 4 inches, but we're gonna also do base repairs.
Okay, all right.
So, for example, where the base is really shot in an area,
Right.
we're going to dig it up and it's going to be probably 12 inches in certain spots. We're going to fix it with stone and gravel underneath so that 4 inches will hold up.
Well-
And we know the key is drainage. Now, since you brought it up, just an example. About 10 years ago or 8 years ago, the crossing at Westcroft Gardens, the drain there, we did a 200-foot improvement.
Right.
If you recall, the guardrail washed out. So the county came back and put it up by hammering in 2x4s so the guardrail would stand up, and almost the bank was gone. I mean, the road edge was right at the edge. So we used our drain funds to elongate that culvert and put a new culvert in 6 feet on either side of the road.
Right.
The county didn't participate with that. At that time, we also raised the road 2 feet at the lowest point where it went over the culvert in anticipation that someday when it's paved, that wouldn't have to be done again. We asked the county to help us with that. They said they had no money. And so what happened is it took them over a year to approve our plan. And when we got the plan back, it was $150,000 over the engineer's estimate because of new requirements that they were going to have us do. Well, we argued that and we got them to back off. But at any rate, it still cost us over $200,000, as I recall back then. And I think I'm accurate in what I just described. So the drain that is in your area, I wanted to fix it just after the curb coming off Horsemill.
Right.
A couple, maybe 400 or 500 feet. And I wanted to do that drain improvement several years ago. But that's going to be a big undertaking, the same problem. We have to go back beyond the road edge, maybe in some cases they're 20 feet in order to establish a decent grade. But the answer is yes. If we get this approved, West River, we're going to fix drainage on all these roads at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down there now, and we've had this rain in there, actually, there's some cones down there where they're doing a little work, but right between Island Estates and where Horsemill turns around to Meridian, we have a swale crossing, a creek crossing there, and there's a bridge. And where does a water pond? Right on top of the bridge. It doesn't even drain off into the creek there.
You need to take care of the drainage or you're going to just ruin the roads, the new roads you put in.
I guess the point I'm getting at, when I'm looking at investing in a new road, given that I get a new one probably every 40, 50 years, I want to know that it's being done right, and it's just not someone going in there and scraping off a couple inches of asphalt and repaving over whatever existing grade is there, and no, that's not going to last. But you're telling me that they're going to do some engineering and address it similar to what they did in the other end of West River?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. I have one question for Brian, since he's up here. Again, getting back to, it's a road issue. It has to do with the Causeway Bridge that runs over West River there that's blocked off now. I know I remember reading several weeks ago that, again, you're in your conversation with trying to get that taken care of. I guess I'd like an assurance that the work that's going to be done on the county bridge when they go to shut it down to do the redecking and the structural work, that somehow they coordinate the efforts so that they can take care of the little Causeway Bridge at the same time, so we're not going to get two shutdowns in a matter of a couple of years.
That was exactly what Mr. Gorman, the new engineer, said. When we have an extended shutdown, by an extended shutdown, he said for a week. I've got to stop the rumors of the 2-year closure. I know they come up about every other week. The county bridge is going to be closed for 2 years starting, then you pick the date. We have not been given any word of any extended closure. We anticipate, as they work the understructure, the decking is pretty much intact. That hasn't been nettled. But there will be some work done in the understructure. We can anticipate there will be closures of a couple of days. When he schedules one of those closures is when, presumably, what he told us was, if they're going to have a closure for more than a couple of days of the swing bridge, that's when they'll address the overpass. They won't close the county bridge for a couple of days a week, working it, and then open it up just to close the West River overpass for whatever, 3 or 4 days a week, whatever it takes to repair or replace that. So that was part of their plan. When and how that's going to happen remains unanswered.
I don't want to get off track, but since I've got you there, I'm going to take one more question on that. It just, I'm up and down the river all the time. I see the construction. I've got some engineering background and understand the structural aspects. I just can't fathom why, probably less than 15 years ago, they took the entire deck off that bridge. And at that time, why wasn't the structure, I have to have that question answered, why wasn't the structural issues addressed back then when they had the opportunity to do so?
There is the unanswered question.
Okay, who's next to come up to, yes, ma'am. Move up, then you won't be, there you go.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Pollock, and I live on West River Road.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify, if this tax that we're voting on comes through, and the money that you receive, are you going to use that money inside where the roads are bad, or are we paying also for the county roads that are on West River and East River and whatever? Where is the money going?
The money's going into township roads, okay? And you live on West River?
Yes.
You're north of Church?
Yes, we have our road.
Well, if we say we're going to pave the second year West River, it will be done. And all the money's going to go into roads.
Is it Wayne County paying for it?
We're going to ask them to contribute. Now, here's the law. As a township, we don't own any roads. And people have said over the years, they're county roads, let the county fix them. The reality, in our opinion, and we have the 2018 needs study with their top 100 projects, which strings out 5 years worth of work. We don't have a road project on their list. That's why we've initiated this opportunity to do something, because the roads are deteriorating rapidly.
Okay.
Hope I'm answering your question.
Yes, you are. This might be incidental, but going down West Road, there's a certain area that has curbside. What is the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose, as I understand it, was the only way that drainage would work there, because of the slopes of the properties coming into it, was to build a under drain that behind the curb into what's called a catch basin, and it goes into a sewer that goes out under the road at certain spots, out into the Trenton Channel. It's stormwater.
In some areas where you have drains, which are, I'm grateful that you do, because I had the problem with all the water coming on my property. However, I noticed the drain that you have, in some areas like mine, like it's 2 feet around the circle of the drain that is, at least it's in depth down below the grass. Are you going to leave it that way?
No, probably not. I mean, I don't know your specific situation, but remember, all those drains were put in 70, 80 years ago. The road was put in 40, 50 years ago, so that's all going to be re-examined. If it can be saved, if the manhole structure, the outfall structures, the pipes are in decent shape, and maybe we can preserve them, maybe they have to be replaced. Maybe they're not at the most engineering responsible location to drain it, but we're going to look at all the drainage. We want the subsurface around the road that's put in to drain properly, or you'll lose the road in 10 years.
This is another, might be incidental, but when they were rewiring the wires from where the electrical poles are, and there's a lot of stones that were placed on my property, in the center of my property by the dock. Are they going to remove that, or help me remove it? Because you can't cut the grass with all these stones.
Speak to the gentleman sitting up. John, raise your hand.
Okay, I'll have to talk to you.
Give John your address, and he'll have it looked into.
And one more question, and I won't bother you. I didn't have my sprinkling system on due to the working of the, I had someone come out there, and then when I seen you were going to be doing all this construction, and you said that if there was ever any problems, that we would take care of it. Well, I had a Grosjean lawn service sprinkling system come out, because I wanted to winterize winterize my sprinkling system, and he asked me to drop this off at the township, which I did, and I never heard from anybody. And maybe it's only 4 or 5 days, but still, I was hoping I'd hear from someone. And he wrote down here, there was electrical problem here to the pump was hit, and we are only have 60 volts, in which we should have had 240 volts. In other words,
well, you know what? I think you need to take that complaint to
okay.
John Keim.
So I can take. I can
just give it to John. He'll look into it.
Okay, I do appreciate it. I wanted to talk to someone, but I didn't know who to talk to. So you answered my questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
John will get your name and address.
Okay, thank you. I can talk later. You want to talk later?
Hi.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Hacker. I live on Park Lane. Okay. And my question probably goes to the more political aspect of this than to the the maintenance, the increases, and so on. I've taken a look at the 1951 Act. I happen to be a retired judge and lawyer, so I'm familiar with the allocation of monies and the responsibilities. We have a county road commissioner, or a county commissioner. We have a significant amount of roads. We pay depending on how you look at it, as a state, the 14th highest gas tax without the sales tax in the nation, the 5th highest if we throw in the sales tax. Our licensure fees also go to this fund. The county receives a significant amount of monies to maintain county roads, which certainly include those on the island. I believe our county commissioner is on the Ways and Means Committee, if I'm not mistaken. Have we exerted any political pressure in that area for the extension or the return of monies that we as an island, through our licensure and taxes, are being allocated to the repair of the roads?
I don't know how we stand per mile of roads, let's say how much is spent, but I can
Don't you think we should?
Well, I can tell you this. I've spent time with Canton Township officials, personally I have, and Brighton Township officials, and I'm aware of some of the cities and their experience with Wayne County. Everybody's got the same complaints we do. So I will tell you this, what little I know. Well, I mean, I'm just telling you the facts. Okay, ask your next question. I mean, everybody's in the same boat. Canton.
So in other words, what you're telling me is that as a township, there has not been the political pressure exerted on our county commissioner?
No, I would say this, that when we tried to deal with the county on various problems over the years, various road projects, often we've called on Mr. Palomera, I would say at least once a year. The Westcroft project I mentioned a few years ago, we called on Mr. Palomera. The West River Road project that we did this year, 2 years ago when we told Mr. Palomera we were going to ask for funding from the county, he was very helpful in getting us to the engineers to respond to us so that they did contribute to that project for the resurfacing portion of it. A few years before that, when we did several intersections, 3 of them on East River Road at Church and Stout and Island Drive, we tried for 2 years to get them to participate. We said, if we pay half, will you pay half? And we didn't get any response, but Mr. Palomera got them to sit down at the table, and they did contribute half the cost of those intersections. It's Wayne County. It's very difficult to work through Wayne County. But we haven't done a study. We haven't done a study. But I'm sure that most communities would tell you the same thing that we're telling you.
Well, I understand Wayne County's just barely out of receivership.
When you try to reach somebody at Wayne County on the phone, you're lucky if you get a phone call.
Believe me, I worked for 35 years in the federal government. I understand bureaucracies.
Okay.
So, but again, my question goes to the political aspects of it. We pay an extremely high gas tax.
Oh.
The allocation, considering the amount of land within Wayne County that falls within the townships that the county has,
There are 9 remaining townships.
I know there are 9 remaining townships. I'm aware of that, but the county does have the responsibility for the maintenance,
Yep.
as well as any improvements for the roads. I just don't think that Grosse Ile, as a township, seems to be receiving a fair share of the monies.
Well, last year actually this year we were at about $1.2 million we've gotten from the county.
Well, the West River Road project itself,
870,000.
700,000, I think. 800,000. Okay.
It's over 800,000. If in any pro rata share, in the last few years, we've done very well.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it because we're way behind.
Well, that's my question.
For 2 years in a row, we got 500,000 for residential road repair.
This was a gift from Mr. Ficano. Funny thing is last year when he was out, he suddenly found several $1 million, and he said, okay, well, Grosse Ile, because of your population, you can have 500,000 for 2 years. Canton could get $1 million for 2 years. And all of a sudden, there was this pot of money that wasn't spent. I don't know how they got away with that.
Maybe he got some from some of the monies he gave out to people's retirement funds.
We used that money, but it was all for neighborhood streets. Now, the distinction I would make is neighborhood streets are in the subdivisions, not our major primary roads,
I
like
understand
West
that.
River, Meridian, and East River. And our focus with this is to fix the major roads, and each year we'll still have this extra money, this 300+ thousand we can spend on other neighborhood roads.
Sounds like the allocation of monies would be better addressed in Lansing. Sorry, I'm
Perhaps
so
you're
used
right.
to saying Washington. What can I say? Thank you very much.
Perhaps you're right. Thank you. Who's next?
Everybody.
Adelphi. We're glad to see you, sir.
Brian, has anybody, like you talk about political pressure and stuff like that, and since you know a lot of people in the area, okay, that are whatever.
It comes with the job.
Okay, exactly. Let me ask you this. Has there been any attempt, or what is the rule where we can audit the county? Can a township or a city audit the county or ask the county for a specific audit? Like when it comes to roads, what's being spent, what's being brought in?
I'm sure those numbers are, their budget, everything they do is audited just like our entire budget's audited.
Okay, so
I'm
if
sure that
people
audit's
start to
available.
ask for audits and stuff, wouldn't that put a little bit more spotlight on what's going on as far as maybe they might want to release more? When you start to ask questions, sometimes they release monies and stuff like that to get you off their back. So if you ask for an audit, would that be?
I would be hesitant to do that. If the board voted and directed me to pursue that, I would. But like I said, we've been getting way more than our pro rata share the last few years. Do I want to set up an adversarial relationship?
No, you don't. Okay.
Well, I think the simple thing is if we could get a hold of their DPS budget, their public
Right,
service
exactly.
budget, we could look at where they're spending their money.
Okay.
And I do know this, when the revenues declined several years ago, every property values tumbled and people were driving less and cars were getting better fuel, that their budget actually fell to like $56 million a year
Right.
for Wayne County.
So you're
Now
privy-
it's back up because
Okay.
last January of 2017 there was a 6-cent bump in the Act 51 or
Okay.
the gas tax monies.
You're privy to that audit.
Administration, they got a substantial sum of money, and I think that is why they did this program in the townships this year.
Okay.
And I think that's why we were able to get money for West River Road, because
Okay.
prior to that we were not.
Okay.
But
You can get that material. You can get that information if you want, right? From the.
I've tried to call them and ask them for budget information, and it hasn't come forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Kathy Lavalier. I live on Hickory Island.
Okay.
What will be the amount of the bond that you're seeking to have issued?
Well, the amount of the bond is going to be $6.5 million.
Okay.
So the way it'll work is the first year we'll levy the 2 mills for Church Road, raise let's call it 1.2 million, 1,180,000. The second year is the year that we'll go forward with the bond. We'll have the cash in hand to start the East River projects, but we'll sell the bond in the second year. So our bond payments will actually start in the third year.
What would be
So
the
the
like?
$6.5 million will give us the ability so that we can do 3.5 miles of Meridian, do the 3 miles of East River, finish West River, and get those major corridors done up front.
So you'll have a bond of
And we'll
$6
make
million?
bond payments the last 10 years, 10 years of the program of about $800,000, but that'll leave us almost $350,000 a year to do other road improvements.
What's the bond rating at Grozio right now?
Oh, we've had a good, I can't tell you whether it's AA or
think
AAA,
we're-
but
I
it's
think we're
always been
AA.
good. It's been a good rating. The question, I think everything was calculated at 5% interest. And
Last bond we put out was 2.8, which was better than state revolving bond.
but we all know interest rates are going up a little
Yeah,
bit.
we know.
So
Okay. Thank you.
that's how it would work. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Good to see you. Steve Lemoyne, Hampton. Just a couple quick questions here. First, thank you. Definitely these are tough discussions, and I do applaud you. You've been pretty transparent in all your discussions. You've been pretty open. I think we definitely see that it's a challenge we have to take on and try to solve. Definitely, as we look to the next 10, 15, 20 years, if we need to do something, we have to act now. So hopefully things go well. Church Road. I always talk about Church Road, so thank you. Seeing that on the plan is excellent. Appreciate that. Question about Church Road and East River. This is an annoyance of mine. So the amount of gravel on the road is unacceptable. If you look at Church Road going down to East River, don't know whose issue that is, if it's the church on the corner or what, but it needs to be addressed. Cars will slide down there. They should not be allowed to have that gravel go in there. So I hope someone takes accountability and goes and looks at that tomorrow. That's terrible.
Steve, I agree with you, and I know that John has been dealing with the drainage over there at that intersection, but the gravel you're talking about
on the south side,
where the church people park. Yep. I
it's terrible.
You got washed out Saturday in the big storm that we take care of tomorrow morning.
I don't know if you can FOIA the DPS budget for Wayne County, but maybe just start there. And then also looking, I don't know if you want to answer or not, in all this road discussion, one of the issues I've had in the past is when we work on the roads, be it East River, wherever, we tend to fix those sprinkler pipes that are underneath the ground. So if homeowners have a water access under the ground, we tend to fix those. Do we have a commitment to not do that anymore and to spend money on those things when they probably shouldn't be there in the first place, be it West River, East River?
Talking about when we do a road, if we hit the sprinkler lines, we fix
the
them.
ones that are under the ground, sucking the water out of the rivers.
Can't see them, yeah, until you hit them.
So do we have a commitment not to fix those when really it's not a township issue?
Well, we hit them on East River Road, but
we hit them and we fixed them. So just food for thought. I think we really need to think about this.
When we did the water main, of course, we were digging, so we broke a lot of them. I don't know how many are.
I don't want to get into the whole legal aspect of should they even have them going under there or not and all that, but food for thought.
I think it's a good point. We haven't talked about it, but I do want to address one thing on Church Road.
Yeah.
Since you're familiar with it.
I am.
One of the decisions we have to make on that, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our plan is to do the widening off one side, probably the north side. We won't have to cut any trees down, and our hope would be to eliminate the ditches on that side. Now, a lot of them are barely a ditch. They're shallow, almost like
for the most part. There's some big ones.
There's some that are pretty deep, but it's a school bus route.
It is,
and we're concerned about that aspect of it. So
I am too.
I
have an interest in the schools.
Anyway, so that's our plan, to widen it 2 feet.
Yes.
Off that side.
Yes.
It'd be nice to widen it further, but then we get into trees and other negative issues.
Well, thank you. I think the team's doing well, and it's good to see a supervisor up here. Thank you.
Thank you. Woody. Oh.
I know it was a suggestion by this gentleman, but I feel if any homes that are 100 years old or older, it's an honor to have a historian home on West River or East River. And I think when you have a pipe going under the road, it should be grandfathered in. And then from the people whoever don't have one, then you could change the law and say that we are no longer going to pay for it if there's damage on roads. But I think that you should give the credibility to the people who have lived there and pay taxes, at least give them a break there.
Well, thank you for that
Thank you
comment,
very
and we'll
much.
look at both issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woody?
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Now, Church Road, are you going to widen it?
Yeah, the plan, Woody, is to widen it from the canal to East River 2 feet. Now, I'd like to, and the reason is we don't want...
Canal? Yeah. To East River, you're 2 feet. That's
2
it.
feet.
What about the other side?
Well, we have tree problems there, and it hasn't been engineered yet, but I've looked at it many a time, And I think we can widen it a foot, again, off the north side without getting into any trees. It's very narrow, as you know.
I know.
And it's crumbling on the edges. And in particular, as you go west of the canal, it's very bad on the north edge there. So we need to do something about fixing that without affecting those 100-year-old trees.
You're not going to touch the 100-year-old trees, but
Don't want to. That's property values. So.
you know.
And another issue there.
Something.
And another issue there is we got to figure out a plan for pedestrians. I mean, there's no sidewalk there, and it's not a safe place for children to walk or anybody to walk.
Okay, now we got people watering their lawns. Okay? East River Road, they've got 3 or 4 that sit on the road. Have they washed down to the road and sit there? Now they're going to deteriorate after a while. Now we can't do anything about the rain, but we should be able to do something about the guys that shooting it out there.
I think you're right.
You got puddles in the new road already where the water runs.
Well, that was what the county did. The repairs they did there were badly needed. I was grateful they did it. I don't know if they'll do it again next year, but I think you're right. They didn't do any drainage improvements, and when we do ours, we're gonna. It's a good thing to note. We're gonna have to look at those irrigation systems and have people move them if they're affecting the road stability of the road.
Yeah, they're going to have to dig it down and get. If they wanted to go to the water, they're going to have to dig it down and go.
I think it's part of our plan that has to be in place. Those are very good points. Thank you. Mr. Ray. John.
John Rathel, 7861 Bellevue. First of all, Bill, you do an exceptional job.
Oh, well,
you are literally amazing at what you do, and you take this so serious. And I want to extend that same courtesy to this commission. I've sat on this commission for many years, and I know pretty much most of all of you. You don't take your job lightly. You take it very seriously. And certainly it's more difficult to go out and try to get a millage passed, a new millage, than it is to go put political heat on any of our Wayne County officials, which I know happens. The reality of it is we're dealing with Wayne County on their roads, and they're not going to fix them, or they're not going to fix them at the rate that we as a community want to get them fixed. So to do that, this community has always gone out for a road millage. This is not the first road millage. We used to have them all the time, and we had renewals. The problem that we faced with renewals is we started to collect money without a capital improvement plan. In 2006, when I was the treasurer of Grosse Ile, sitting right up there, I announced that we had $4 million in a road millage fund without a capital improvement plan to spend it. We were taking money, we were taxing without spending the money. So I advocated that we don't go back out. It was probably a mistake because it's a lot easier to get a renewal than it is to get a brand new millage, right? We just had one fail a couple years ago, and now we have this. In this community, we have to decide, do we want to wait for Wayne County to gradually fix our roads and put together a plan that eventually put roads together while they're deteriorating and others are crumbling, or do we want to support our infrastructure? We do it all the time. We spend money in this community to be first on a list to get our streets plowed. We pay extra money to Wayne County to do this. It's a community that is demanding of an infrastructure that is representative of who we are. It comes down to this. Do we want to have better roads now, or do we want to wait and continue to fight Wayne County and hope that it changes? For me, it's easy. I think this is the most important millage that we have as a community. Government is supposed to provide infrastructure for success. For us, we're a residential community, and that's our roads. Unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with here in this community. And I tell you what, I trust you, Bill. I trust you guys and ladies that are sitting on this commission, that you're bringing this with a great capital improvement plan. You have roads that you have earmarked in a progression to spend this money, and that in the future, if we ever have to go out for a renewal, which I think that we probably will, that it's always accompanied by a capital improvement plan, because that was the mistake that we made years ago. So I urge everybody to vote for this millage, and certainly it's not going to taste very well, because we all know that Wayne County, in a perfect world, should fix our roads. I don't believe they are. So again, thank you for what you guys do, your dedication, and your commitment to making Groseal the place that we all want it to be, an exceptional community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, John. It reminds me, I just want to add, too, that when we talk about Wayne County, you know, each year they put their list together, and it's not only road conditions, but it's traffic volumes. And thankfully, we don't have the accidents, but it's traffic accidents, and it's traffic congestions that they evaluate. And that's why when we're competing with 7 Mile Road in Livonia, or Jefferson and Grosse Pointe,
West Road,
or our own West Road, or Van Horn Road here, we don't compete. And I guess in that respect, we're lucky, but that's realistically part of our problem. Okay, so there's several people that haven't spoken. I'd like to, Mr. Delphi, you've been a road person ever since I've known you. You have nothing to say? Well, we're glad to see you here. Mark, thank you.
My name is Mark Grazioli. I live on Knutson. I use Church. I use East River. I have tried to avoid West River. But I agree with the last speaker. It takes planning, and that's what you guys are doing. And that's why I've supported this thing from the very beginning when I heard about it. Because you got to plan what you do. We have to accept reality. The reality is that Wayne County is putting money in the bridge. They're going to have to put more money in some other little bridges on the island, but we're going to have to take care of the roads, which is not unlike many other communities. I drive the roads of the state of Michigan. I'm appalled at the condition of all our roads. So I got some information from the highway department. It all comes down to funding. State funding per person, this is about data from a year old. Michigan spends $154 per person on their roads, the state money. Ohio spends $214. New York spends $239. Wisconsin spends $289. Wisconsin spends $302. Pennsylvania spends $530. In the Great Lakes area, Michigan, spend less per capita on roads than any of the surrounding states. And if you drive the roads, you can see the condition of the roads. I think you guys are accepting reality, and you're doing some planning. That's what needs to be done. The only other thing I say, a lot of our roads are asphalt. Asphalt roads, unlike concrete roads, can span voids in the subsurface. So if you have a concrete pavement, it will span the void underneath. Asphalt totally depends on the subsurface. When you drive in these parking lots that stores put in, you'll see big holes. That's because they didn't do the proper work in the subsurface. And I assume that we're going to do that. The other thing I like about what you're doing is the future maintenance. You're planning ahead. That because you put the road in, you just can't abandon it. You've got to take care of it as you go along. It's money well spent. So some sort of future maintenance program on roads on the island, I think you're to be commended for. And that's about it.
Okay, there's still people that haven't spoken. Anybody want to come up? I don't want to close this down before and close anybody out. I don't see any hands. Any commissioners want to respond to anything that's been said? Staff? All right, well, we're going to close the public information meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for the comments, suggestions, and ideas. I also want to say we're going to continue our meeting and talk about sewers and other things here, and you're welcome, our wastewater plant and whatnot, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. So you don't have to leave, and it's up to you. So with that, should we take a... Thank you, Mr. Loftus, for being here. Very helpful. We'll take a 2-minute break. Everybody can stretch their legs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Are there any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the vouchers?
I'll move that we approve the vouchers.
Is there support?
I'll support that.
Moved and supported that the vouchers be approved. Any comments? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a statement of revenues and expenditures for our water and sewer and refuse funds. If there are no comments, we'll receive those and file them. Are there any comments? They're received and filed. Next, we have the treasurer's report for September 2018. I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion.
I will second it.
Move supported the treasurer's report for September of this year be approved as distributed. If there are no comments, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report is approved. So next is public comment. There are just a couple people left. And anybody from the public wish to speak about any topic? Hearing none, we'll move on. Action items. Okay, please come to the podium.
I've got a couple of catch basins on my corner that I do my civic duty and take care of, make sure they're clear all the time. But I've noticed this summer on a number of occasions that there's a lot of lawn service people on the island. And every once in a while, probably once a week, if you get out much, you'll see somebody blowing their grass out into the street, on Macomb even. What's the proper protocol if you see somebody doing that, which you know is just going to go right into the sewers? What's the proper protocol to?
You say they're when they mow the grass,
yeah,
the mower's blowing the.
No, yeah, or they take their backpack blower and they blow their stuff right out in the street, right into the curb and gutter.
Usually, I see them blowing it off the street back on the lawn.
I've seen a number of times this summer where they're doing just the opposite.
Jim, you can contact the ordinance officer.
Okay.
But by the time he gets out there, they're generally done.
So maybe what would be a good idea, because most of those guys are identified, just maybe take a name of a company.
Yeah, and if you call the DPS office.
And what he'll do is he'll contact them.
Okay, because I've seen it at least, I don't know, 8-10 times this summer. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, action item is the winter maintenance services. It's terrible to have to think about winter at this point, but this is on page 22 of your handout, your packet. Lorinda?
Yep, it's that time of year again. So this year, the cost to do the priority winter maintenance services, it will be $34,005.58 for 21.40 lane miles of roadway. And then I've given you a history through the last, I think it's last 10 years of and you can see the different figures of how much we spent to date. And the cost for the analysis is based on the prior year's snowfall.
These funds have been budgeted by us.
Yes.
So are there any discussion, questions?
I'll move this to spend the $34,000.
Moved.
Second.
And supported.
I can indicate I'm opposed to having to pay the county to do what they should do, but we've already heard tonight about what they do with the roads. The county does a good job in a lot of areas, and it's just too bad we can't get around this.
So we have a motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed. Me.
Okay, motion
Opposed?
passed.
Okay.
This will go to the township board, right?
Yeah, it'll go to the township board.
Okay, Lorinda, we're under managers' reports.
Okay, West River Road update. Restoration has begun. Final wearing course still has to be put on after the restoration is completed. They're doing the driveway approaches as well. It started this week. So hopefully we'll have everything completed within the next 3 weeks, and that way the schools can resume their bus routes as well.
Well, I think the important thing is the base course was finished last Friday. So that means the lower 2 inches of asphalt completely covers the road, so there's no more gravel road out there. Summer, so there's no dust. It's a very neat job. I was stopped in Kroger's by a resident, and he told me that he was very surprised that the contractor worked with everybody so well out there. And then I was driving it, I think one day a week ago. A gentleman was out walking his dog on the new fresh pavement, and I stopped him and I said, "How do you like this pavement?" And I told him who I was, and he said, "This has been a terrific job." So I know I haven't had one complaint. I know there have been complaints, but every one of them have been addressed, to my knowledge. Correct?
Correct.
And the contractor has been excellent. His employees have been excellent. They've worked with traffic flowing in both directions. They worked around it, so it's gone very well. And as far as I know, other than the change orders we've created to deal with drainage, and extra drainage improvements, they haven't asked for a change order. Am I right?
I think that's right, yeah.
You know, contractors on a big job like that, it's easy to ask for change orders. So it's been a very, very good job. So I just want to say that I think that this commission, we'll see how the next couple of weeks go. But in my opinion, if it goes well, we might want to invite the contractor in when the job's done and acknowledge his services. Anybody? That's what my thinking is anyway.
That's a good point.
So anyway, thank you. So it's gone very well, and let's keep our fingers crossed and hope it gets wrapped up now. That's what they're doing. So sorry to interrupt you, Lorinda.
It's okay. The next one is the Amber Court drainage project. They started last week. They're hand digging with a shovel, so it's going slow. They're accomplishing about 10 foot a day, but they should be completed by the end of this week. And that's that.
Good. Next.
Okay, the next is Dump the Junk. Dump the Junk, Find a Treasure will be held October the 13th from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. In the DPS parking lot. This is being sponsored by the Greenways Open Space Committee. They asked that I pass this along to the residents. No electronics or items such as paint, refrigerators, railroad ties, cement blocks, bricks, or oversized items such as boats, because they have shown up. They will be checking for ID for drop-offs, and treasure hunters are always welcomed. And then whatever you can't dump there, you can take it over to the next one, which will be the Household Hazardous Waste Collection, being sponsored by the Wayne County Department of Public Services. This will be held on Saturday, November 3rd from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. Make sure you get there well before 2 p.m. because they will cut you off in line. This will be held at the Wayne County Community College District Downriver Campus, located at 21,000 North Line Road in Taylor. They also will be accepting electronics, computers, CPUs, monitors, printers, scanners, keyboards, cell phones, fax machines, copiers, and televisions. I've had lots of calls about how to get rid of some of this, and if you miss putting it out at the road, you can always take it over to the Downriver Campus on North Line Road. If anyone has any questions, they are to call their Wayne County Resource Recovery Coordinator. That number is 734-326-3936. This is only open to Wayne County residents, and they also will be checking your IDs. That's all I have.
Okay. Next is our wastewater treatment plant update from Ryan Walsh, who's our manager at the wastewater plant. Ryan, welcome.
Hello, everyone. First on the list, I have the Hoop Heron influent bar screen update. Sherry from OHM still is working on the hydraulic profile so we can submit that to the state of Michigan. And then CE Rains is working with Dew Perrin, still on the working on the area where the washer compactor will be. We're still figuring out how much of a walkway we'll have there. So they're figuring out how much of that flooring we'll have. So that's what's holding that up. And I'm in communication weekly on this with CE Rains and yeah, so that's that. Next we have the elevator hoistway ventilation. We have our permit right now in hand. We had Guy and Misler at the plant Monday actually scoping that out, and we can probably use a supply fan, which we already have. And the way it would work is we're going to use a positive pressure ventilation with that. So CE Rains, Guy Misler, and Detroit Elevator are all working on this. And when I guess once we've figured it out, it first has to then go to the elevator inspector, and then he has to pretty much stamp his approval on that. And then I'm also on this weekly also, so it's moving along. And that's nothing else.
Okay.
That's the end of the story.
Yep.
Other questions from the
That's all I
commission?
got.
Are there questions from the commission?
No.
Les, anything? Phil? No questions. So on the elevator, Do you expect that by our next meeting, a month from now, this will all be resolved? A plan will be in place?
Yes, I do. Yep. And I'll have that. Yeah.
Is there anybody that we can call to help move things along, or everything's going pretty smooth? I know there were a lot of
not right now.
A lot of actors involved. You know, being Rains and Gian Misler and the state elevator inspector.
Yes. Yep.
All these different people involved in that. So.
And it all has to just mesh. So, yeah. Yep.
And then once they approve the ventilation, then we still have to replace the cable that's rusted out.
Yes, afterwards. But first we need this.
All right.
You need the air so that it's right, or else we'll have the same issue. And yep.
And then the one question I have on Duperon.
Okay.
Are you feeling like you say that you're waiting for a sketch from them? I don't know what the 579 is. Is that an elevation? Or
I believe it's in inches. So that's at our first landing in the wet well. And that was in Ohio's email.
Has Duperon not been responsive?
They have been, I guess, but CE Rains and them are just, they're still working on it, and that's what CE Rains explains to me. So
we got to get. Hopefully, that'll be in the next 30 days too.
Yep.
Resolved. I know it's taken some time to look at those issues. And all right. So this I see a question in somebody's face over here in the audience, but this Duperon project is 40-foot down shaft at a wastewater plant, right? 40-foot deep shaft.
Yes, and it's
staircase that goes down into the intake into the wastewater plant. It's a very difficult situation.
Wet well.
It's a wet well.
It's a raking system which should remove all the rags, and that's our main issue at the plant.
All right, so let's good luck and thank you, and I hope that both these items will come to a head with more detail in the next 30 days.
Okay.
I know we wanted to have some direction by the end of the year on both these issues.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks. Ryan.
Yep.
And I noticed, Bill, that you came in late. You want to come to address us since you came in?
I lost track of time tonight. I was having dinner with my wife.
Oh, it's nice to see your smiling face. Okay. I don't think we have any other business to come before the commission. I have no further report.
Yeah, we have a discussion item. We want to know about dust control for the 2019 season. Now, for the last 5 years, we've been holding the prices with D&D emulsions. So do we want to go out and bid out this year? Or do you want me to contact them and see if they'll hold their prices again?
Well,
we've been using dust bond, so that seems to be the going thing, and that's the only place we can get it from.
The one application a year has worked.
It has, okay, but if we have another really dry summer like we did, I mean, we really stretched it this year.
That's good. Because it's expensive to
Yes,
do
it is
two
expensive.
I know one person up here lives on a gravel road. Les, do you have any thought on this?
Well, yeah, my street was one of the first streets we tried that dust bond on, and it really worked pretty good. But it seemed this year that, I don't know if it was a thinner mixture or something, because I did start getting a lot of dust. But then we had some main breaks on our street, so I'm going to really need a thick coat next year. So I hope that we can, hope he holds his price, and maybe we can put a thicker coat on.
That the wish of the commission is for me to contact them to see if they'll hold it?
Well, I don't have a problem with it personally.
Yeah.
So that's
Everybody in agreement? Okay. All right. I'll get a hold of them then.
But I do want
Thank
to
you.
raise one issue. In terms of timing, if we have a little bit of a wet spring, the further off we put applying the dust control, the better chance it's going to last all summer. It seemed like last year we put it on pretty early. I'm looking for your...
Well, the last 2 years we've been doing it in May, actually.
Delayed it because it was raining.
It was raining, but I mean, we've been doing it like right around end of May, before Memorial Day. We've been trying to anyways.
Well, I guess end of May, but if do we have the option, working with this company, to, if it's kind of a wet spring, to put it off till June? I mean,
wherever we can get them on the schedule. So, I mean, we're going to be at their mercy if we decide to say, okay, we've got a wet spring, so, put us back a few weeks. I mean, I think that's an option.
why don't you just
They
program
work
them
with
then
us.
a week later than they did it this year?
We also have to coordinate it with Wayne County so they can get the grading in place prior to the application.
Yeah.
That's another issue.
And the other issue with that bill is that's Island Fest weekend.
Put it off till after Island Fest.
Good, if that's your choice.
Good this year.
Les, I'm looking for your thoughts. We want it to last all summer. We put it off till after Island Fest, till early June.
That's fine with me. It's just
What about the county? Wasn't there some concern about the county coming out and grading without notifying us?
That's what I meant. We have to coordinate with them when they can be available, and then you want to leave it a couple days after they're done grading it for the water to settle the dust down, and then you put your application on. So it's a coordinated effort between everybody. And then just in regards to that bill, Wayne County will come out occasionally and touch up the spots that are real dusty. They come out and they do Park Lane, they do Thoroughfare, some of the
Touch
main
it up with grading
calcium
or with
chloride.
an application?
Calcium chloride.
Calcium chloride? Well, that's good.
that doesn't last very long.
Correct.
No,
That's
it
why we
doesn't.
changed the dust bond.
All right, so I'm going to say, Les, you're in charge of this dust control thing.
Oh, thanks.
Les, I'll get with you.
You're going to go out and see what they'll do, and you understand the concerns that a couple of us have expressed.
Okay. Thank you.
Bill, if you're putting me in charge of it, I think we should chip seal these gravel roads.
I knew that was coming.
I know you've said that before. And while we're at it, we could get some new street signs. All
New street signs.
right, if there's no other business to come before the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a couple of questions to ask. How's the drainage project for that one house up on West River doing?
It's on hold right now until the pavement is complete. We've got to get the pavement in before they move on to the project. Those people were affected by the heavy rains on Saturday, and
Yeah, it
they're
flooded the
understanding
house.
that, we got to get this road in place. So right now, the contractor's working on raising all the structures that are in the pavement so they can come back and put the wear course on, or the final course, I mean.
Okay, the other question I have is, how is our TV cleaning project doing?
Excellent. Outstanding. They're probably 90% complete at this time. They're having a difficult time. What they have left is the rear easement lines that have to be televised, so they're having issues getting to the rear easement. They have a four-wheel drive vehicle, but it's so wet they can't get back there. And on top of that, the amount of rain we've had, the flow in the line is so large, the camera's underwater.
Yeah, what was this, something about calcium? I was reading in the,
There's some areas where their calcium had to be cut out of the pipe. And that comes mainly around joint leaks or where the lead comes into the pipe. You get the calcium drip, 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 and it just keeps building up, building up, building up. So they have to come through and cut that out. We
Yeah,
just had one of those today.
stalagmites and stalactites.
Correct. Yeah. And it's from all the limestone in the ground.
Unless on that point, I've asked John to prepare a report, maybe some video, but prepare an end-of-the-year report for us for our December meeting, because they'll be done by then, and give us a report of what we found and what we need to repair. in the
Now,
sewer.
they've just done their quarter that,
Section 1 so far.
yeah.
Correct. And so they're at Park Lane by the bridge that's closed, working southbound along the canal. So that's where they're at, trying to get in these back easements, which, if you ever walk down there, it's a
Yeah.
swamp and underwater. So they're having some issues right now. I briefly discussed that with Bill today, and we might be coming up with a different plan for now to finish out this season, not exceeding our 150,000 allotted budget.
They seem to be happy with what's going on?
They are, and we are ecstatic with the work that they're doing, yeah.
Okay, cool.
What else? That's it?
Well, that's it. Since Loftus is talking to all these people, I still don't have the correct signs on my street. But if there's nothing else to come before this fine board, I make a motion we adjourn at 8:25.
Is there support?
Support.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.